Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at Toki for the Nintendo Switch. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link in the description. Also, if you're interested in me unboxing what is referred to as the Retro Collector Edition, though, I'll also have a link in the description on that one. Out of all the arcade games that that has been remade or was thought to be remade and all that stuff, I never expected Toki to be the one to be remade. I remember seeing this game when I was like very young, maybe like at a local Pizza Hut at the time when they had, Pizza Hut had some restaurants. Some of them still exist, but mostly it's a delivery service and all that stuff. I remember seeing the game in the arcades though, and at the time I wasn't exactly perfect at it and all that stuff, but it was around a time when we also saw a lot of 2D shooters, whether it's games like that or Contra, or later on in later 90s, like Metal Slug, which is one of my favorite 2D shooters, Metal Slug 3 being my favorite one of all times. So to see Toki be remastered and all that stuff is sort of an odd thing for a developer to do, though. And after spending some time with the game, I will say for old school 2D fans, though, they might get a kick out of this, but not everybody will. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one is the music and the art style in the game. I like the fact that they remade the game and had it looks a little bit more lively. It's still a 2D game, don't get me wrong, and still follows really closely to the original arcade and all that stuff, but I like the whole animation, the art style, kind of looks something out of like a cartoon, so I like the 2D art style. Plus, I like the fact that they remade some of the music from the arcades as well. So from an art style and music standpoint, it's good. And the next thing I do want to talk about is the gameplay. And anybody who's played Toki before, or at least seen Toki, knows the gist of it. It's basically an old school arcade 2D style gameplay, basically a shooter to be exact, even though Toki's not carrying a gun or anything like that. He's spitting projectiles out of his mouth. Nevertheless, it plays like a classic 2D shooter, and it plays very much what you would expect if you remember playing the old Toki arcade game, or if you somehow had the home console version, whether it was, I think, either the Sega Genesis or the NES, or I think other versions as well, though. Excuse me. So, but the gameplay is fun. It's a classic arcade style approach. There are certainly power-ups in the game where getting a helmet basically will make you invincible for a bit, or getting shoes will make you jump higher for a bit, or picking up different power-ups to shoot different projectiles, such as like a spray or sort of a wave beam, or even sort of like a flamethrower. In a way, it almost kind of reminds me a little bit of Contra in a certain degree, though. So if you like that kind of gameplay, that old school 2D shooter approach, whether it's games like Toki or Metal Slug or Contra, you'll feel right at home with this one, though. So if you're into those kind of games, you'll probably like this one. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get to part 2, which will be the cons. So take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of Toki for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And the cons, like the pros, where I only had like 2 pros though. The cons, I only have 2. So we'll start with the first one. And the first one is that although as much as I enjoy the game, as much as I'm like a fan of the old school 2D shooters, it's not going to be for everyone. It's a genre that hasn't really... let's just say it's not in it was back in the heydays, back in the 80s and possibly the 90s as well, and all that stuff, especially in an era where we live where there's basically, like Call of Duty or Battlefield and all that stuff, though. Especially if you're not a big fan of the idea of the one-hit kill, where basically if Toki gets hit by a projectile or enemy, he dies right there and you lose a life and all that stuff. So if you're not really a fan of those type of games, or the one-hit kill kind of approach, then this game may not be for you. Again, it's an old school game. And last but not least is that there is no replay value, which is probably the disappointing part, because I would assume a game like this would basically have, you know, maybe like adding maybe an extra level and all that stuff. I mean, it's great that they stay true to the arcade and all that stuff, but it would have been nice if they added some stuff to make it sort of like, you know, like something unique, or like something, maybe there was a level that never made it to the original arcade, or add some replayability and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's only like 6 levels, and once you beat the game, that's it. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like what the Metal Slug series kind of would have been. Although Metal Slug has its charm, and with games like Metal Slug 3 all the way up to 6 so far, or even 7 for that matter, the game also had like branch paths where you could take different routes and all that stuff, so there was some replayability. This one, excuse me, this one is a little bit disappointing that there isn't really a lot of replayability in this game, so it is very unfortunate on that part. Overall, Toki is still a fun game, especially if you're a fan of old school 2D shooters like I am, but it's not for everyone though. I do like I said, I do like the art style, I do like the music in the game, and I definitely still enjoy that old school 2D shooter gameplay and everything like that. But to me, it feels like the game will only have a limited appeal to certain people. It's not going to be for everyone, and so forth. So some people, unless you grew up playing these kind of games, it's not going to appeal to a lot of folks though. So overall, I enjoy it, but it will have a limited appeal. It's mostly geared towards those who remember playing these kind of games back in the 80s, and also I think a little bit in the early 90s as well though. And I doubt this game is going to say top like Super Smash Brothers or anything like that. In fact, I don't even think it will and all that stuff. I could be wrong, but highly unlikely. So, but overall, it's a fun game, but it won't appeal to everyone. Excuse me. Okay, this concludes this video review of Toki for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Toki though? Do you think this is a game that deserved a remake? Do you think a game did not deserve a remake though? Do you think this should be a Switch exclusive? Excuse me. Or do you think they should release it on other platforms as well? Do you agree with what I said in this video review? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I do. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all good evening then. Bye!